here we are. It's Friday morning of our September campout, and we've got a few things we're going to share with you here. We've been having a great time, and we're not going to go around the group like we normally would. We're just going to toss it out there and say, who's got something to share? Come on, somebody. Okay, Nancy.
I had I left some nuts out last night. A little bag of a little net bag, and the bottom half had pistachios, whole pistachios, all natural, not salted, and then the top half had a mix of nuts, shelled nuts, and dried raisins and stuff. So I left it there with some garlic and onions. And something very neatly took the top half of the nuts in the bag and left everything else. It wasn't scattered. The bag wasn't moved or pulled off. It was just, and also I had a little stick glyph I left with my initial on it. And it was kind of pushed over onto the dish.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know what took it. I don't think it was a wild animal because I think it would have been scattered around if it was a wild animal.
Well, that makes sense.
And then this morning I went down on the river and found some tracks that might be interesting for us to look at a little bit later.
Okay,
some small track, and then maybe some knuckle things in the mud.
All right, cool. We'll go check that out.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Other than that,
okay.
We came back from our Oil City hike. Apparently, I had talked to a gentleman over there. His dog actually tried to bite me, so I think he felt like he kind of owed me something. But so he said he was going to come get me, and I was going to move over to that other spot. So I came back, and Sandy said, "Hey, he moved and told you that he was gone." So I moved my motorhome over there, parked it, and then I was kind of messing with my flute because I was kind of tweaking something. So I played it for a few minutes, went in, cranked up the generator, and hit the slider. So I was making a lot of noise. Immediately, a rock hit the side of the motorhome. So I thought it was the people camped next to me. So I jumped out, ran over there. There's nobody there. And there's a grassy little spot right where my slider is. And there was a rock sitting there. Was it the rock? I'm not 100% sure. But it just seemed to be about the right size. And it actually put a little divot in the side of my motorhome. And it's about 5 inches away from the window. But what was interesting, it was right where I was sitting, right behind directional, right where I was sitting.
Wow, so they actually knew where you were in the motorhome and threw a rock at you.
Yeah, so I'm still trying to process this because there's not a lot of cover around where I was unless he or whoever had thrown it from behind the motorhome. Because the side of the motorhome, there's a camp right there, and there is, 6 to 8 foot tall ferns and brush. But if it was something forest people, it was a pretty gutsy thing to do because it wasn't a lot of cover there, unless they were in the swamp and he threw it from behind and it was like a glancing blow off the side of the motorhome. I don't know.
Okay.
I immediately went out and started looking around.
Cool. Right on. It seems to me somebody was talking about having pine cones thrown last night. Okay, why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Well, David and I were standing right over there,
Actually, in the center, there was no trees.
Yeah, there were no trees. There was some cottonwoods there, no pine trees, no firs really around there. It was wide open. We were just talking, and a pine cone lands right between us. Like, oh, where did that come from?
You think it came from the swamp direction?
Yeah.
Okay. And
then we moved over. We were walking. I had some blueberries, and she wanted some blueberries, and went over to the picnic table that we're sharing over here. And again, we were just talking, and then all of a sudden, another pine cone comes down and lands between us. Wow. And then she left. Apparently, they're after her because she left, and there were no more pine cones. No more pine cones came down.
Okay, and to be clear, you were standing under cottonwood trees when the pine cone fell.
Yes.
All right, very good.
I didn't see any squirrels above me either.
Okay, actually, I haven't even heard any squirrels here. There's been no chirping. I haven't no chipmunks.
I saw a couple. I saw one and heard one this morning.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Not
all
here,
right.
but on our hike, there was a big one, and it wasn't scared of us at all.
Somebody had been feeding that at the trailhead.
He was humongous, and he was just right by us, like, "Hey, somebody, give me a nut."
Yeah, he ran right up the alder, just far from my head. He goes, whoop.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, he's been tamed.
Yeah, he's been working that trailhead for a while. Yeah. All right. Okay. So
Well,
who's next? Penny?
So after a few people, maybe 2 or 3, went off to their own camps, you guys went to your own camp.
Last night.
Yeah, last night, sorry. And several went down to the river. And so Barb and I, Tristan, Pat, David, sat here. And we kept seeing these kind of sparks of light just behind where Barb's sitting now.
Oh,
And we could
Spread-
sit, yeah,
give you a view.
we could sit here and say, to the left of the leaner, to the right of the big tree, 3 feet up. And I often would not say I saw something until somebody else said, "Did you see that?" And I go, "Yep, confirmation." And
Yeah.
they would vary in difference from white to yellow to red. Did we see any green?
I think there was a green once, and there was a little slightly orangish to the red.
No.
And the first one that I saw that
That's
was,
the riverboat.
oh, we got somebody driving out over there. Sorry about the noise. But the first one I saw, right between these 2 trees, I saw a red flash, a little red dot of light, and a few seconds later it did it again. And I stated that I had seen it, and then Tristan, who was sitting right about over here, 30 seconds later, you piped up.
Yeah, I saw a flash of a red light right behind you there on the right, to the right of that tree.
So I saw it between them, you saw it to the right, so it had moved. So then it was just a few minutes later, let's see, it would have been this leaning tree. I got that on camera, it's hard to do, it's behind me.
Good job.
But just to the right of the leaning tree, or left of the leaning tree, I saw a pretty good-sized light that wasn't too far away, like an orangish red. And I didn't say anything for a minute. And finally, I'm like, no, okay, I'm saying something. And all I said was, "Did you see that?" And Penny, who was sitting next to me, goes, "What did you say?"
That's the one I saw. And I'm like, oh, wow.
And you pointed out where you had seen it and what you had seen, and it was exactly what I had seen.
Yeah. So we pretty much sat here and said, "We like the light show." And we were lined up like we were watching a movie and just kept seeing, I missed a few of them, but we counted up to 12
Yeah.
of these kind of sparks of light. They weren't long and sustained or anything, but you just see this spark. And I said, "Do you have any glow bugs? Do you have any insects that would light up? Do you have any?" Well, this morning Tristan said they could, the bats were flying, and it could have been bat eyes. Could that be?
There were a lot of
'Cause we
bats
did-
last night.
Maybe.
We did, I mean, there was a bat that came out of
There was a bat, yeah, so
And I think
maybe.
because of since they fly so fast, that maybe the flashes of light were their eyes being reflected.
That's good
'Cause we had the light,
possibility, yeah.
we had these lights back here flashing.
We did.
This
Bats
direction,
sleep.
so those
The
bat
thing
eyes
is
might
that we were seeing them in the same spot a few times.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed was the ones that appeared to be closest to us were the red ones,
Yeah.
and the ones that appeared to be white were the ones that were the farthest back. And also during this time that these were happening, just on the other side of these ferns is our other campsite, and I have my tent on the far side of that campsite, and David has his tent on this side of it. And we had walked over there a couple times. I went to my car, you went over there, and every time we'd walk over there, we could hear movement pretty much between your tent and the ferns.
Yeah, I went back there to my tent and I could hear movement on the other side of the ferns that's between my tent and this site.
Yeah, and and while we were sitting here watching the lights, we were hearing movement in the ferns too. Yeah, so.
Well, I heard, when I went on the road over there, I heard movement from your guys' camp over there, like really subtle.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell what it was, but you could hear something.
Yeah, so all we
In the
really
first
know
shot
is
we
there was something was over there, something was moving,
Yeah.
and there were a lot of pretty colored little flashing lights going on.
were-
What it was, we do not know.
And they were just sparks of light. They
Yeah.
weren't sustained. They were just twink, twink, and you had to be looking that way to catch it.
I know.
Yeah.
If it had been bats, wouldn't it just been one consistent color? You wouldn't have had all these other colors going on.
It could be maybe different angles on their lights could
Yeah,
create
just
different.
Like,
So
'cause
we're
we
not going to
started
throw
lights
that
going
out
and
as a possibility.
Yeah.
We're not going to say that it was or wasn't that. That's just a possibility.
But it
So.
was highly entertaining.
It
We
very
sat here
was.
for nearly an hour.
Some of those light flashes were pretty far back as well and seemed well out of the reflective
Yes,
range.
yes.
of lights
And
there.
also at one point you were talking a lot to the lights, whatever was creating them, and you were asking for more, and we were saying yes, please. And at one point you had said, "Oh, we'd like to see some more lights, please." And all of a sudden we all see just this big burst flash of light.
I wouldn't say it was a flash. It was just an oral glow that was localized, not
Yeah.
huge.
Well, it
And
was
we're
bigger
going,
than the sparks.
Whoa, how cool. I just asked for it. And then Nancy comes walking up. So we
Well-
thought maybe it was her light. We don't know.
Well,
But it was cool.
it could have been or it might not have been, because we did note that she did walk up several seconds later. So she came from that way. We saw the light back here. We can't say for sure that her light was strong enough or was aimed in the trees, and she was a good distance back on the road when it
Yes.
happened. That, and when the rest of the group came back from being out on the river, they came from the same direction using lights, and we could see no sign of their flashlights or anything back there.
Yeah.
So it's up in the air as to whether or not that was your light that made that or not. But it all gave us a big startle and a smile, and we were pretty happy. So what it was, we don't know, but it was cool. So, okay, who's next?
We set up a gifting area down a trail, and we found a nice log back in there and put a pie and some peanut butter and crackers and honey and what else?
Pouch of tuna.
Some nectarines that we went to Forks and got, and a recorder. Recorder was still on this morning. The food was all still there.
Nothing
So we're
touched.
going to leave it and try it again because it's on a, off the beaten path trail, and maybe they didn't go by there last night, so we'll try again tonight.
Okay.
And sometimes it'll sit there a couple of days, kind of like, should I touch it or shouldn't I?
Right.
And maybe the third day they'll pick it up like it
Yeah.
got.
So you got to
And
be
that's
persistent.
typical behavior.
So,
Do you
Yeah.
think they feel like they're being
So-
set up, so they're like kind of doing a recon, you know,
right. It does
making
look like
sure
a
there's no
setup.
cameras, traps?
You know?
So do you guys make any kind of noise to let them know where you are in the
Yeah.
Oh,
forest?
yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
do. Okay.
Play the harmonica.
Camptown
Okay.
races sing their song.
Yeah.
She's always, yeah.
Uh-huh.
A couple glow sticks, so if they're walking by, they can't miss it. But it does look like a setup, so, since they're supposed to be intelligent beings, I'm sure they're being cautious, which is what we're
Yeah.
expecting, and we've noticed that in the past, so we'll be persistent and just,
Okay, well, we got a few days yet for them to decide they're
Yeah.
gonna sample, so.
right. So we'll keep you posted.
All right, cool. Okay.
So I set up down that same path. I set up a gifting site, probably another 200 yards. So it's interesting. That is a sanctioned trail, because if you keep going down that, you have to really get around some brush. But there's a bench, a park bench that's completely overgrown and mossed out. So at one point, that whole area back there was a
Walking
park.
path.
Yeah, probably a DNR path, sanctioned path, and there's a creek. So you go back there, and there's this beautiful little mound surrounded by 3 or 4 trees. It's a stump on a mound, and there's a bunch of X's placed around the mound, and you'll see this, when you're out in the forest. It's surrounded by X's on 2 sides, and then a little mini X in the top. So I immediately felt like this is. Oh yeah, and there was a trident. The trident stuck in a branch from the cottonwoods was stuck in the ground about 10 feet up in the air, right on the mound. I thought they like this spot because it's a gorgeous spot, and it's like probably a power spot. So I put my gifting on that, but nothing was touched this morning.
Okay.
We'll find out.
Okay, so this is very strange. Yesterday, 5 minutes into our morning meeting, I looked at the camera and realized it had stopped recording for no reason. The battery is fully charged. There's plenty of storage. I did it yesterday, and then just today at about 16 minutes into our meeting, it did it again. My screen went dark, and I looked at it and went, what the heck? And it's like, oh, dang, the camera shut off again. We have no idea why. So I believe Mitch was in the middle of talking about structures. When that happened.
You should redo it. Take 5.
Now we can't keep a straight face. Mitch, you ruined
I think Gabby's getting
can't
bored
stop
with this.
86 from coffee.
Okay, we're just gonna keep going here.
Okay.
Okay, so now you had mentioned something about
Yeah, we've been
magnetism.
hearing Navy jets overhead, for a couple of days now, and I think it's the Navy's electromagnetic warfare messing with your device.
That could be, although there's no jets in the area at the moment.
Ah, but that proves it's the Navy because they're being stealthy.
Okay. But this is the only times that my camera has actually malfunctioned and shut off, just during the morning meetings. So I don't know if it's associated or not, but it's a possibility. Could be.
Well, those trucks could be emitting a signal because
They are.
That's what he
the
said.
Yeah.
aircraft
They're
are
pulsing
supposed to
upwards.
go, and that's the whole part of electronic warfare. They're supposed to either be able to scramble or knock out radar sites, cell phone towers. I mean, that's the whole object of
Right.
electronic warfare. And then if these trucks, they're supposed to send out a signal too, and all that stuff going back and forth could easily knock out a camera.
Easily.
Okay. All right. Well,
Especially
we're
they're
okay.
obviously close by too, because they're hanging around here a lot.
So that would make sense.
Okay. Well, we're gonna chalk up my faulty camera to the government, the Navy in
Look
specific.
forward to seeing you on Monday, Men in Black.
That's right. Coming
My
from
name
Santa
is
Claus.
Judy.
I know where you sleep. You won't get those black glasses again.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure there's one more thing that we missed after the camera died that we had talked about that didn't get recorded. Kevin had something that he wanted to share.
I park consistently in the same place at the campsite. I will pee consistently at the same place at the campsite. It's in the bushes, and it's a 5-foot area that nobody walks through, only myself. And I only drink these water bottles in camp, at the campsite. This was right in between the truck and my pea bushes this morning. And I'm the only one that walks through there. It was obviously right smack in the middle of that 5-foot corridor. And literally walked over it this morning, hit it this morning, and instantly knew that something was up, because it wasn't mine, it wasn't Sandy's, nobody else goes in there. So I got extra water this morning.
Cool. And somebody mentioned something about you may be dehydrated.
That's the working theory right now.
Okay.
Forest people think that I'm dehydrated. So
Okay. Drink
so
more
it could have
water.
been a little.
And their sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So anybody else got anything they want to share?
Yes.
Oh, David.
I'll make sure it's going to come through. So my tent is where the light show was happening, like we mentioned earlier. When I went to the tent last night to go to sleep, I didn't hear any activity around my tent, and it was actually a pretty quiet night. And then I was up early this morning, probably like around 4:30, and about 5 o'clock there was a very, very loud thud right outside the tent, and it was loud enough and hard enough that the ground shook
Wow.
where I was
Wow.
sleeping. And when I went out this morning, I have no idea what it was. There was like a little pile of rocks in the bushes, but that they were already there. I couldn't see anything in terms of anything right near my tent. So if it was in the bushes itself, that's probably why I can't find it. But it seems like it would have been like an enormous rock that hit.
Wow.
And other
Okay.
than that, it was a pretty quiet night.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was asleep early. Gabby was asleep
than
early.
that.
We didn't hear a darn thing last night. I think we were just
That's
exhausted.
huge.
All right. Okay. So, anybody else? All right. I guess that wraps it up for us. We're going to have a great day. We're going to go look at some tracks. We're going to do some fun stuff. And we will be back tomorrow morning to report what's going on next. So,
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome.
It is.
Can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Woo!
Spooky
Yeah.
Spooky road.
Spooky road.
Okay, so here's a look at the area we were looking at last night that had the twinkling lights. Right back here. The first two red ones I saw were between these trees. A few seconds later, Tristan saw it on that side of the tree. Then they started more over here. This is the leaning tree we were referring to. And you can see through there where our other camp is. Okay, so while we were sitting over there and we were looking at the lights and things that were in this area, between camps. I had walked over here to plug some things into charge, and first I heard it just as I start walking up here, and then I get up to my car, and here's David's tent, and I go ahead and do what we did earlier. Yeah, I don't know that that's going to pick up on camera, but it almost sounded like something was rubbing on his tent over there on the far side of it. And my initial feeling was that there was something just on the other side of his tent. You know, it was dark, I couldn't see anything. I didn't see any sparkly lights from this side. But I just plugged my stuff in here in the car and spoke to them and said how grateful we were that they were here and how much we enjoy them, and inviting them to hang out and participate. So then I turned around and went back.
When I came back here after you, and I was standing at my Jeep, and I can hear rustling in the bush back here.
Okay.
So it was definitely near the tent. I didn't come around the corner because I didn't want to, if they were there, I didn't want to startle. And so I did like shine my light that way, but then I just turned it off. And I thought, you know, I'm not going to bother them. But I did hear sound back here.
Okay.
But I never came around the back.
Yeah, well, when we were over there listening, we could hear periodically, we could hear rustling and sound and stick snapping. Little things were going on in here. Okay, show us what you got here, Nancy.
Okay, I was out walking yesterday and found this. This is still growing. If it was shoved in the ground, it took root because these are living here. And then this is a separate piece right here. You can see it's not attached.
No, it's
not
just leaned
attached.
against it.
And it's twisted here. It's twisted here, and then it bends back down and ends right here.
That's interesting.
And but if you stand here, it's a triangle pointing that way.
It is, yeah.
Watch out, Mama.
Wow, that's interesting.
This stick was over here. I touched nothing around here. I was very careful not to disturb
Well,
it.
I know a lot of these trees like this, vine maples and alders and things, you can take a cutting and stick it in the ground and it will sprout. I know because I use make little garden fences.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it looks like to me. It's like it's been stuck in there and it's so wet.
It just sprouted.
It sprouted, but it's been there a little while.
Very cool.
So
okay.
I don't know whether it's pointing something kind of grassy up in there. I didn't go up there and investigate, but
okay.
So that's one little thing I spotted.
Anything,
Right on.
Pat?
Thank you.
Noticed it yesterday, but it may just be that I wasn't aware of it yesterday.
Are those kind of maybe? Wow. Maybe, I don't know, over by that stick, a possibility of that.
But they kind of dried out. But see, it looks like.
Would you hold my water, please? Thank you.
Yeah, there's a big footprint.
See, it looks like this is really dried out because there was more of an imprint here. And darn, if my bad. Oh no, it's right here. Excuse me. It is. Oh yeah, but you walked right through it. Yeah, it was like there's two hands here. There looked like a footprint possibly here, and then another handprint here. And
Oh,
I'll
I
tell
see what you mean.
This is degraded quite a bit from when I saw it this morning. So I'm thinking this might be fairly fresh.
Yeah.
Because
no
this was far more, the knuckle prints were far more obvious this morning.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like knuckle marks there.
Yeah,
Can I get
it
a
looks
look at
like
this one?
a hand went down, changed position, and then